Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. Want to bring a quick update following this quick, brutal market sell-off that we've seen here over the last several hours. This started right at the close. We've seen this very often, either right before or right after the daily candle close. And this happened, just shortly after the 2 hours following saw the brunt of the sell-off. And, we were just expecting a major move over the last couple of days. I mentioned in my live stream some of the volatility measurements, and we had just been at historic lows. We were looking for a breakout. Unfortunately, the move was downward, and the move was quick, fast, and on pretty decent volume. If you look at the 4-hour chart, you can just see how fast it happened. It's still selling off a little bit. Unfortunately, the momentum has shifted significantly to the downside. We are testing some key support levels. I'll take a look at the Coinbase chart right now. It hit $6,033 just above, again, testing that 6K support that we've seen tested so many times. But the move was fast, move was quick, and just zooming in here to the 1-hour chart, you can see here, this was the last hour of the day. And as soon as we rolled over, we saw it started to roll over and then just very quick sell off. Unfortunately, I was not at the trading desk. I was away for a few hours and I was not able to enter any kind of short positions or anything on this quick sell-off, so I had to watch it from afar. I did have some swing trade positions open, and thank goodness for stops, but as expected, a sell-off of this magnitude was across the board, hit all of those positions, and so I'm back to cash for now. You can see here on the CoinMarketCap, just red across the board, big steep sell-offs here the last couple of hours, shaved off about $12 billion worth of market cap value in just 2 hours. We were sitting right around that $216 billion mark, and here we are now right around that 204. So very quick sell-off. I'm not so sure it's over yet. It's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. Certainly we have hit some extreme oversold conditions in the near term. On the 1-hour chart down here, 4-hour chart very quickly went into oversold. The daily chart not quite there yet, has room to go to the downside if it wants to, and so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But we've broken out of this pattern. Look how tight this pattern was getting, right? It was imminent. We were going to see this thing break out one way or the other. Many other names are looking similar. I was looking at Ethereum earlier today, and ETH was tightening up and had already broken below one of the key support levels that I was watching. There was this trend line to be keeping an eye on ETH here the last couple of days. That you can see it broke below it earlier, didn't quite slice right through, but had that sell-off yesterday, tried to bounce back and got very flat, very tight action here today. And once BTC started to break down, this one rolled over very quickly. So big picture, things are still looking bearish. We had an opportunity to break to the upside and it broke lower, which odds were slightly favoring the bears just because we were already in a downward momentum, and typically things break in the direction of the prior trend. Now the big question is that it, right? Is this just another shakeout, or is this the beginning of something bigger? Are we going to break this big support level that we've all been watching here for the last couple of months? Is that going to finally give way, and do we see a new low sub 6K for the year? And that's going to be the big question. I've often said, there's a couple of scenarios that could play out. And one of the scenarios that I've talked about is the potential to see a break below this this big support zone, and it turned out to be a big, it turned out to be a big shakeout that finds a new low sub 6K, right, 5,000, 5,500, and then quickly reverses higher, right? And so that's going to be something I'm looking at. Do we make this new low? Do we have this big shakeout? Does that set the final low, or is this the break of a big base that we've been watching here for quite some time now, and that creates a new downtrend that is a little bit more sustained? So just something to keep an eye on here. I am not in the camp of a new long sustained downtrend, but it's always interesting to see how this is going to react, especially with the financial markets seeing huge sell-offs here today as well. And so just has been a rough day across all market spaces. I'm going to post a separate video on that here shortly. It's going to be something along the lines of just talking the stock side of things. But how will Bitcoin hold up during that type of scenario if we do enter a prolonged downtrend in the financial markets, another financial crisis, to use some strong wording there? But Bitcoin hasn't had the history to really show how it performs during those types of scenarios in the financial market. It's just so young. The current bull market in the financials has been going for quite some time and is very extended, and so it's going to be interesting to see how Bitcoin does in that scenario. Now, in my opinion, Bitcoin is a risk-on asset, and in a market crisis, I would not expect to see a ton of money chasing these highly volatile, risky type of assets. But we've also seen in currency crisis situation in certain countries where inflation's rampant, those type of things, that there is a flock to cryptocurrency and other things like Bitcoin. So that's going to be interesting to see if something like that plays out here. But for now, as I always say, take it one day at a time. I'm going to see how this plays out here over the next day or so. We'll likely do a live stream again tomorrow, so look out for that. But for now, I'm just sitting tight. I did miss my short entry, so I'm not going to chase this now that it's really sold off. I'm going to see how it does right around this key support level. But you can see here on Bitstamp, it's kind of hard to see. Let me hide the wick there, the volume, so you can see that wick there. But look at that wick on Bitstamp, right down to $6,055. On Coinbase, it was $6,033, $34, and so just right at the cusp of breaking that 6K level again. Very close. Quick bounce right back just because of the extreme oversold conditions that we were at, but still looking like it wants to see some more downside. There was some early indication today. I was watching this and I did share it with the group. Even though I had some long trades open, I was not too impressed with the bounce back here today. Yesterday we saw some selling pressure show up, and you can see here we had a pretty quick sell-off and bounced back pretty good today, but then it started to stall right around that resistance, right? That prior support that broke now became resistance, looking a little bit of a bear flaggish as it bounced into that lower volume there, and once it broke that trend line, as we've often seen to be the case, quick spike lower. And many other names were doing something similar. I was in VeChain, for example, and I mentioned this to the group saying it's just not looking too hot here. And let me zoom in here a little bit for you guys. And this is what I was watching, right? We broke down, we started to bounce, and we were getting back above the moving averages on the shorter term time frames, but on the 4-hour chart, this was bouncing right into the 10 EMA. You can see it was also bouncing right into resistance, and it just started to roll over. Very quick sell-off along with so many other names. Some other names were breaking out today. There was a lot of movement in some of the smaller cap names. One of the names I was liking was Icon. It was moving up nicely and really had that big push right at the close, and then of course Bitcoin decided to misbehave. The rest of the market sold off, and this was totally negated. Failed breakout there, and we saw many examples of that today. So just a big red day here in the last several hours. It's going to be interesting to see how this translates into the rest of the trading session here today as I record this. So I will be keeping an eye out, and so look out for another potential live stream here today, maybe tomorrow. We'll see how this rest of the day goes, but I just wanted to bring this update. For now, I'm just going to be watching how Bitcoin does on this bounce, but this was a pretty big break. I do expect to see more of a bounce, but is it the end? Is that the low that we saw, this extreme panic low again? Or is it just going to be another bounce into moving averages, as we've often seen the case, which sets up another leg lower? Another scenario to keep an eye out for is if it doesn't bounce and just meanders and sits tight in a range, what all that does is let the RSI cool off, lets his moving averages catch up, and then usually sets up another leg down. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for. Thanks for watching, guys. I will catch you all in the next update. Take care, everyone.